I know the traffic along the 101 can sometimes be challenging, which is why we started a little bit early, but I guess we still got caught. But anyway, we're glad you're here. And we're really excited to have this special session this morning that's featuring our friends from GfK and Facebook, who will be sharing with us their insights on how mobile is shaking up the shopper journey. So let me introduce our speakers. First off, Naomi Grewal. Yes. She always has to correct me. Naomi is manager of consumer insights in North America here at Facebook. I'm sure she's a familiar face to many in the room. But Naomi is not just, has been with Facebook for about a year, 2 years?
No, only 10 months.
10 months. The impact is significant. Naomi comes to Facebook. She'd been at SurveyMonkey. She'd been at UI, and she holds a PhD in cognitive science, so another of our behavioral scientists. Joining Naomi, also from the Facebook team, Fernanda Alcantara. Bom dia. Bom dia. Fernanda is originally from Brazil. And she is an analyst on the marketing science team here at Facebook. And her current focus is on multicultural audiences in North America insights. Yes. She joined Facebook in Brazil in 2012 and has worked at Citibank, Santander, among other places. And last but not least is Jason Boyd. Jason is a senior research director with GfK in the shopper and retail strategy team. He works across a number of verticals, and he's out here from Boston, eh? Mm-hmm. Where'd you park your car?
Airport.
Where, airport?
Airport.
Airport. Airport. Okay. Us Bostonians have to stick together. So, with that, please join me in welcoming Naomi, Fernanda, and Jason to the stage.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I hope you've had a chance to get coffee and breakfast and try the variety of types of bacon that Facebook has to offer. Great, so we're going to talk today about how mobile is shaking up the shopper journey. And I'm joined by Fernanda and our partner Jason from GfK. So we all know that the shopping process is omni-channel, and it's becoming more and more complex. And that's why Facebook partnered with GfK to really understand the path to purchase across multiple industries. Studying the complexities of the purchase journey has helped Facebook understand the role that mobile plays and really how mobile is fueling the shopping process. So today, Jason and Fernanda are going to present some findings from 3 studies: GfK's Future Buy research, Facebook's travel study, and Facebook's omnichannel study. And sort of high level, what we've learned to date is that thanks to increasing mobile adoption, research and planning are becoming more and more convenient. Facebook data shows that mobile booking for the travel industry is on the rise and is steady across both weekends and weekdays. And mobile devices now truly serve shoppers through their entire journeys, all the way from inspiration through to the final booking. Although mobile is fueling the shopping process, the online purchase journey is still becoming more and more complex. So for example, a consumer may see an ad for headphones on their mobile device. They might turn to their laptop to browse through the variety of headphones, shapes and sizes. They might eventually add a product to cart on their tablet, and then later revert back to their laptop or perhaps go in-store to make that final purchase. So our research with GfK has really sought to capture these types of complex journeys and understand the role that mobile plays. And what we find is that people turn to a range of devices when booking travel, but most actually go to their mobile devices first. So our recent travel study revealed that 54% of travelers kicked off the research for their last trip on their smartphone or tablet. And as the process went on, more and more turned to their mobile devices. Now, what you're looking at here isn't just a series of pretty lines, but it's actually the travel path to purchase for nearly 100 travelers. And when planning a trip, travelers visit an average of 56 travel-related digital touchpoints over the course of 1 to 2 months. And clearly that's not done in a linear fashion. So they might start off on an aggregator site, then turn to Instagram to browse for inspiration about where to travel, then download a mobile app for an airline, and then post a question on a travel forum. So they're really hopping in and out of this sort of path to purchase for travel. Now, all in all, the path to purchase for travel is 116 minutes on average over the course of 43 days. And that, of course, involves a range of devices. But what we do know is that mobile's role is significant. So 85% of travelers used a mobile device to plan their last trip. Now I'll pass it over to Fernanda to take us through more of these findings.
Thank you. And because we want to help closing the gap between consumer shifting behavior and industry behavior, the travel study is not the only path to purchase study in which we partner with GfK. Today, we want to present 4 streams of study that will help us understand the digital behavior, the shift, and how attitudes are changing over time. So the first one is the omnichannel shopper. And in this study, participants who researched online and bought a product in one of 5 key categories responded a series of questions. And combining GfK data with Facebook internal data, we're able to identify key differences in shopping behavior. The second study is the travel path to purchase. And this study is divided in 2 pieces. The first one is the online survey. And there, we wanted to understand the different interactions between consumers and travel providers. The second piece is the travel digital tracking. And this piece is super important because, as you're going to see later, there's a lot of interactions that are lost just analyzing with the survey. Here, we observed how 97 participants were interacting with apps and also with websites and looking for information. So we can actually capture all the passive digital behavior analysis during this process. The last piece is GfK Future Buy. And this is an annual global study from GfK where they capture all the shopping behavior every year. So in this survey, what they have is all the digital points, all the interactions, and also how technology is included in this path. Combining these 4 lines of study, we are able to identify the overall digital behavior and how it's changing. So let's start with the omnichannel study. We first found that 73% of the participants used their mobile phone all the time. And they spend up to 4.5 hours per day with the mobile phone. So this is not surprising. But what is really interesting is that our mobile phone is not just a device we use for entertainment or for companion, maybe. Actually, the mobile phone is a powerful shopping tool. It's very convenient. You can look for prices in real time. You can check product information. So it's really convenient. Nearly half of the shoppers globally have used mobile as a shopping tool. This is from Future Buy. And that's how the things get really interesting. Because when you look at different categories, such as travel, this number can be as high as 85%. So it's pretty big, but that's not all. This number is rising. When you look at the global population, it's up 6 points and 9 points in the US. So it's pretty big. And they use mobile for a variety of purposes. Most commonly, they use to compare prices with 43%, but get information on products and check reviews online are also very important activities. 41% of the Future Buy study agreed that a mobile device is quickly becoming the most important shopping tool they have. But it's not just for the online. When they are shopping offline in a retail store, that's also pretty big. In the US, 37% used mobile when they are doing a purchase. When you look at specifically for US millennials, this number is even bigger with 47%. The truth is, online-offline experience is becoming the new normal. But that's not for research that we are using mobile. Actually, they are also using social media and mobile to discovery. When you look at the travel research, we found that 46% of the participants found products on Facebook that they are personally interested in. And 47% often discover new products they didn't know they wanted on social media. So it's a place for discovery too. But still, that's not all. When you look at the inspiration side, Facebook's such a big player. In the travel study, we also found that 40% of the participants were inspired by hearing travel stories from others. 42% like to follow travel providers online, and 59% find inspiration by watching videos online. So that's an opportunity for consumers and brands to connect better. Okay. When you look further in opportunities for brands and how consumers are connecting with brands with their mobile, like any good relationship, it comes down to communication. Here, we found that most of the travelers find there's an opportunity and that providers can improve the way they communicate. 30% said they could make the travel decision entirely by messaging apps. 43% would prefer interacting with mobile messaging than over the phone. And 47% said personalized ads save time and effort. So if you want to improve the relationship, also consider messaging apps as a good opportunity. Now I'm going to hand it to Jason, who has more findings for us.
Great, thanks. So we've already heard a lot about the idea that the purchase journey is really complex. We heard at the beginning, it's not just omnichannel, it's really multi-channel, people moving from their phone to their tablet to their PC. And this continues to be happening globally. We've seen some data where the US might be lagging a little bit in some aspects of this, but they're leading in some others. So we need to think about the idea that one size will not fit all as we start to have a global strategy. We also heard that social is particularly important. When you think about the visual that Naomi showed us earlier, a lot of times people will actually be jumping in and out, not only from social, but from sort of shopping to not shopping. We see this in a lot of research all the time, that you might be on Facebook and then, or Instagram, and then you get an idea, then maybe you hop over to Amazon, and then you will go back somewhere else. It's not like you're just actively shopping the whole time. And that's that whole constant companion thing we were seeing earlier. It really is sort of always on. So what we're going to take a look at now is sort of where this is headed, some data that shows who's going to be driving this growth over the next few years, and what we should do about it. So what we're taking a look at here is really the role of smartphone within online shopping. Within Future Buy, we asked a question, which is it's claim data of, well, you know, are you using your smartphone? Are you shopping in a store? Are you shopping on a PC? And 24% of millennials and 34% of Gen Z, those are, you know, you're 13 to 18, I'm sorry, that's the percentage of time that they're actually spending. So a third of their shopping time dedicated to working on a mobile device. That's 5 times that of boomers. So what we know is that the millennials are going to be driving this change. Gen Z is going to be driving this change. They're driving this change in a variety of different ways as well. It's not just shopping, it's ultimately purchasing and other behaviors outside of actually making a purchase on a mobile phone. So things like seeing the product on a device and purchasing directly from the device. Gen Z, Gen Y, way out in front of the boomers. So again, you're seeing that tendency where these folks are driving change over time. Seeing a product on a device and later going to a store to purchase. So mobile can be used as a shopping tool, a purchasing tool, or also a traffic driving tool for retailers. So that's another thing to consider. Seeing a product in a store and then purchasing from another competitor, the exact opposite can happen as well. So there's a lot of different mobile shopping and purchasing behaviors that are going on. And Gen Z, Gen Y, they're really driving where this is headed. All journeys are not going to be created equal. We heard this earlier, that travel, it could be as high as 80%, I believe you said. From the research we did within FutureBuy and also within the omnichannel study, the idea is that the percent of shoppers that are shopping on a mobile device, specifically a mobile phone, it's going to be higher for things like consumer electronics, apparel, stuff where there's a little bit more risk involved. Travel, I want to make sure I get it right. Automobile, things along those lines that there's high risk involved. Longer purchase cycle, it's going to be a lot more of this mobile shopping versus things such as CPG, cleaning products, things where there's a little less risk or it's a little bit more of a routine purchase, less likely to be doing the mobile shopping. So when you start to think about working with your clients, with your partners, mobile strategy, more important for those high risk, longer purchase cycle products. Physical store is still the king. So while mobile shopping is taking off, mobile purchasing is taking off, preference is still to be able to make your purchases within a store. So what we're seeing here from the omnichannel study was that about a third of shoppers shopped online on a mobile phone, but only 10% of those people followed through with making a purchase, versus that conversion being much higher for people that shopped in a store, ultimately purchased in a store. So the point here is that we've got a lot of growth to go with that mobile shop to purchase. There are some barriers that we're going to have to overcome. We'll take a look at that in a minute. But the other barrier is also going to be some preference. We actually asked the question of how do you prefer to make a purchase? And the preference really, even for people that purchase on a mobile, was to purchase in a store. So it's a device that people are interested in, they're using it, but is it necessarily something that's sort of taken over how we shop and purchase? Not yet. Okay. Why would people use a mobile phone to purchase? Why would people not? So we looked at some reasons that you would and some reasons that you wouldn't. And convenience factor was really the primary reason that people are making their purchases on their mobile phone. So if it's there, I'm already using it, I can do it anywhere, anytime. If I want to buy something 3 in the morning, go ahead. That's really the primary factor for the mobile phone purchases. There's not a lot of the sort of, I've got the ability to look at reviews, and I've got the ability to do some comparison that I might not be able to do in a retail store. Those points are there, but they're not really as high. So it's really that convenience is what's driving purchasing on a mobile. As we start to think about what's going to be happening with the future of mobile purchasing and mobile shopping, there are some barriers that have to be overcome. So we asked questions of people that purchased on a desktop or laptop, well, why didn't you purchase mobile? Those are the blue up top. And it was some thoughts about being easier to see all the products on the desktop, finding it easier to have a bigger screen. So there's a screen factor. It's not for everyone. I mean, we know that we've seen some folks worry about this, some folks don't, but folks that are shopping and purchasing on PC, to convert them into mobile purchasers, they've got a screen size issue we need to think about. And that's something, as virtual comes along and as new technologies come along, that screen size consideration is something that may be mitigated. Okay? Why shop in store versus on a mobile device? This is tactile. So the idea of I want to touch it, I want to feel it, I don't want to wait, I want to buy it now. So there's that sort of have it now factor. There are fleets of white vans in all of our neighborhoods right now that are sort of bringing that down a bit, but that's still a barrier to be overcome. The reality here, too, we find this, again, we talked about the idea that those higher risk, higher ticket, longer purchase cycle products, those people that purchase those numbers are higher. So if there's greater risk involved, there's still going to be a tendency to go into store. So if I'm buying a $1,000 refrigerator and I need to see it, or if I'm buying a new suit and I need to try it on. So those are things that there are limitations and ceilings that we can only go so far with mobile purchasing. But it really does depend on the category that you're going to be purchasing and shopping for as to whether or not you'd be more comfortable on a mobile device versus a store. So where's this headed? When we looked at the omnichannel study, again, we alluded to this before, millennials, they're really going to be driving the growth. Not surprising, they're driving growth because they're sort of mobile native, but the numbers really are kind of surprising. Almost half of them expecting to make more purchases on a smartphone next year. So you know that there's a conversion issue that's going on now where people aren't necessarily purchasing on mobile. Expect that volume to be coming from millennials. 2/3 expecting to do more product research on a smartphone. Now, so it's increasing likelihood that they're going to use that device for a variety of purposes, and as we saw, in a variety of places. Are they going to pull their phone out in the store and comparison shop? Are they going to be shopping when they're just driving to work? Are they going to come to an ARF conference and try shopping on their mobile device while they're listening to a presentation? There's a lot of different places that people are going to be doing shopping, and again, it's going to be driven by the millennials. So also, that more than half expect to use the phone within the store. There are some simple barriers that retailers need to think about. It's availability of Wi-Fi, just sort of real tactical things, and making it easier for those shoppers who are mobile natives, who've grown up with this. They're using it really as an appendage, and they're making it part of their shopping process from start to finish. So again, millennials are going to be driving growth. So as you work with partners, we think about how can we make it simple for these types of folks to shop using a mobile device. A couple things from the travel study we want to close out with. And this first one, really interesting. What we've done through a lot of what we've seen so far is taken a look at survey data, but then we actually passively tracked, as Fernanda said, about 100 respondents to see what they're doing online. And then we compared some of the differences. And what we found is a 10x difference. Now, this can vary from category to category, but what that 10x difference is really people are not able to articulate the extent to which they're using these devices. So you might say, okay, I went to Facebook, and I also went to Amazon.com, and I went to Walmart.com. The reality is about 10 times of the activity that you might capture in a survey is actually happening as these people are being passively tracked. So what we believe is that the ability to understand, you'll need survey research for certain elements. You need to understand that offline element and so forth. But thinking about that passive digital monitoring is really key to be able to understand the extent to which people articulate or don't articulate just how much they're actually doing, because it's a lot. To sort of further hammer this point home, this is extremely researchy. I'm not going to get into the details here at all. But what this is just showing is there's a tremendous amount of granularity you can pull out of passively tracking and monitoring respondents who may or may not be taking a survey, but this is sort of showing what they're doing digitally. So this is just a map of one person. He booked a trip over the course of 80 days. So think about what if you ask someone to take an online survey, can they remember every single day that they did for 80 days and what they were doing and whether or not they used an app or a website or they were on their mobile phone or a PC? So that level of articulation is really there when you're able to bring in some of that passive digital monitoring. You can actually see when someone's booking, where they're going. This person actually had 200 Facebook visits, 234 Instagram visits. So that's data that you'll never capture with a survey. So if as you're starting to think about how do I understand the path to purchase, the marriage of sort of that survey piece and the passive tracking is really a good way to understand what do people think is happening and what's really happening. So to sort of close out, there's a few points we're hoping that you take away from today. Multi-channel being the present for shoppers, and we're calling it multi-channel versus an omni-channel, because it's really, you saw that data earlier, people switching from a mobile phone to a tablet to a PC into the store and back again. So people are using a lot of devices, they're using a lot of pieces of information to be able to make their purchase decisions. Not all journeys being created equal. So what that's speaking to, again, you saw that some journeys, there's more likely to be using your mobile phone for your shopping or purchasing process, those higher risk, higher ticket, versus some sort of CPG type products, a little bit less likely. The store's still king, but not for long. Again, the idea with the store, people still prefer it. It's there for some of those tactile things where you need to try on, you need to see how large an object is. You just want to touch it and feel it before you make the purchase. So there's some barriers that we may not be able to overcome with mobile purchasing, but it's again speaking to the idea of marrying the store experience with the mobile experience to make sure that that shopper has a nice, seamless, true omni-channel look at you as a retailer. And then make sure you know the difference between what people say and what they do. Online survey research is a nice tool, but it only goes so far. A passive digital tracking, very useful tool that you can use to understand with a lot of granularity exactly what people are doing, where they're interacting with your brands and moving in and out of that process, where they're doing something that may not necessarily be related to that path to purchase as well. So thank you. We can open it up just if you need to reach us. Well, you know where to find us, but some extra information if you need it.
No, I think, yeah. Let's thank you, Jason, Fernanda, Naomi. If you want to just hang just a minute. Really, let's open up to any questions. We've got, Mark has got the microphone in hand. Or there's another microphone stand here. The question in the back, yes.
Apologies if I missed the first few minutes, but what is the methodology used to get the permissions for tracking the passive data collection?
This specific tool is something that GfK owns. It's called Knowledge Panel Digital. So what happens is we end up actually reaching out to the respondents that are potentially going to be part of the panel. And what we do is ask them, they have to sign forms, they have to actually opt in to the process that they're going to be digitally monitored and that data is going to be used. They do have the ability to sort of turn it on and off. So we're really giving them multiple ways to opt into the process, and they're fully aware of what their data is being tracked for and what it's being used for. We do recruit from both mobile device and PC so that they also know that they're going to be tracked on a cross-device basis. That answer what you're looking for? Good.
Great. Thanks. Got Jane, there's a question at,
I just have a question for everybody. Has anybody ever done work that talks about the difference in the population between those who are willing to opt in for that kind of stuff and those who aren't?
You guys have anything?
I haven't.
Okay.
Do you know anything?
I'm sure there's been some of that data that floats around. GfK's got sort of a think tank over in Germany that does a lot of these things. I'm not aware of it, but I'd be curious to see it as well. What I always say with this passive data versus sort of an online survey is I wouldn't always consider it sort of a representative population. You know, I always treat it as qual, even though you're getting sort of 100, 200 respondents, but accept it for what it is.
We do a lot of work with opt-in folks, and I always wonder
Yeah.
how useful it really is.
Yeah, I would never think of this as sort of a standalone, this is the only thing I'd want to do. I'd want to marry it to something else where I'm feeling confident about what the numbers are saying, and then you can sort of cross-validate.
yeah, and I'm going to just add in because I think we're going to hear more throughout today on how folks are using opt-in panels and understanding how that also gives greater insight into the shopper's path to purchase. So let's keep the question open because I'm sure there are lots of folks who have other experience with it as well. Jane, you had a question? Yes.
I just had a quick follow-on to the
Yes.
first question. So is it actually a meter then that people are, it's an app that people download? What exactly is the technology?
Yeah, I don't know the exact, unfortunately I'm not a technical guy, I'm a researcher, but they do download something that ends up monitoring it and sort of warehousing the data. What we typically do, so we're not recruiting respondents on an ad hoc basis. They're fully metered so that if we needed to do something tomorrow, we wanted to look back in the past 4 months. It's been captured, it's been monitored, and it's available for us to be able to do that level of analysis.
I think we have time for one more question, if there is one. Yes.
You can just shout.
Sorry, I kind of missed that. So the people you recruited for opt-in, did you give them a task, or they claimed that they were going to book a trip in the next 3 months or something?
Sure. So the panel exists so that we can do whatever work it is we need to do on a given basis. But what we end up doing is we send out what we call a screener survey. We worked with Facebook on this based on whatever the criteria is that we wanted to do. So we say, okay, did you book a trip in the past 3 months or whatever? So if somebody meets those criteria, then we identify them as somebody who we can then go and take a look at their data. So then what we also do, we'll ask some extra questions. How long were you actively shopping? Because we could look at someone's data forever and find nothing. So we asked them to sort of hone in on when they were doing specific work to understand that. And that way we're set up so that if there's, they're all custom so that we can focus on whether it's travel or whether it's somebody wants to buy a car, or we did something recently on refrigerators. We can just ask that specific question, did you exhibit this behavior? And then we can go back and take a look at their data.
Okay. Okay.
Great.
And
Thanks.
just to add some more information, in the travel study, what we did is that in the first stage, we have an online survey. But in the second stage, for the passive measurement, we also had a quick survey for these participants that were being tracked. So it's interesting to see how they respond in the survey and compared with the data from the behavioral analysis.
That's great. So again, Jason, Fernanda, Naomi, thank you all very much. And I know you'll be around this morning, so if folks have other questions.
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.